Hello everybody, I am Tran Manh Hung, Executive Director of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, and this is ICHAM-Connected. In the last few years, we have received many questions, curiosity, concern of the company, European company, Italian company that want to do business in Vietnam. And the main concern is about the intellectual property in Vietnam. How does it work and how is the current situation? So in order to give you a better idea and answer to all those questions and have a better view about how IP works in Vietnam, we are glad to introduce you today Mr. Tran Manh Hung. Mr. Tran Manh Hung is the managing partner of McKenzie in Vietnam, one of the top leading global law firm. Mr. Hung, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, hi. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce a little bit about yourself and your company, please?
McKenzie was the first international law firm that set up an office in Vietnam back in 1993. Right now, apart from other practice, we have very strong IP practice. IP practice is a combination between traditional IP and technology practice, and I head up that practice in Vietnam.
For many European companies, especially the one that have never done business with Vietnam before, normally the approach would be, let's say, let's start business first. Let's try some potential partner, some potential client first. If the business goes well, and then we will think about the IP issue. So would you think that is the right approach?
I think it's very common for business people to put business ahead of the road, say doing business first and IP comes later. But I think in terms of that, we have to change strategy right now because we have so much problem with IP issues like IP infringement, copycat, copyright infringement, and even like IP theft. So strategy needs to be changed a little bit. Very often IP is considered like cost but not an asset. But in practice, and under the law, IP actually is a very important asset. It adds a lot of advantage, competitive, add to the business. So that's why I think in terms of strategy, the key thing is just to get it filed, get it registered before doing business.
Very honest, I'm not a legal background person, and I believe that many entrepreneurs or businessmen, they don't have the legal background. So when we're talking about the legal issue, sometimes for us it's very difficult to understand. Could you help us to understand better what is intellectual property and how does it work, please?
Generally speaking, Vietnam recognizes many forms of IP under the IP law, but in the nutshell include two key components. It is copyright, related rights, and industrial property. So copyright and related rights refer to an exclusive right to a work or a neighboring right. So I can take an example. If I write a song and I'm the author and owner of the song, but if you sing my song, or I hire a singer to sing my songs, and that singer will have neighboring rights to the songs. So copyright is automatically created from the day, the moment that it was created. Like, it doesn't have to go through registration procedure. Vietnam is a Berne Convention member, so that's why the copyright is protected in the Berne Convention members countries. For example, if one author creates a poem in Italy, and that poem will be protected as copyright in Italy and then protected in Vietnam as well. Industrial property can be trademark, patent and design, plant variety or GI. But let me go first with trademark. So look at this one. So Kinoto actually is a trademark, right? And the label is a trademark. And then when we talk about trademark, something can be readable. We can pronounce it Kinoto, and it has been protected, right? So design actually is the outside shape of the bottle. So this can be protected as a design if it meets some requirements under Vietnamese law. So patent actually is the technical invention, and that gives the patent holder exclusive right to exploit, commercialize the patent. I can tell some example, like pharmaceutical company, if they own the patent over the COVID-19 vaccine, and they actually can really rule the whole healthcare system, and they get paid a lot of money, for exploiting it and commercializing it and licensing the patent in order to collect the royalty. So patent can be a product or can be a process. And last but not least, I'm not covering everything, but I just want to highlight some fundamental IP subjects,
yes,
including like plant variety. So plant variety gives the plant variety holder the right to exclusively exploit a new variety, like ST25, from Mr. Kuo recently.
Yes.
It's something like it could be considered a plant variety as well.
Mr. Hung, could you please explain a little bit more what are the key factors to differentiate between the different IP issues?
The key factor to differentiate between IP subjects, I think number one is the scope of protection. For copyright, it gives the copyright holder exclusive right to use it, exploit it, distribute, and make copy, and stop other people from using it.
Yeah.
For trademark, actually it gives the trademark holder the right to use it first and to prevent others from using it in a similar, identical way. And the last thing is you can commercialize it by giving license to use it. So by and large, commercializing IP rights, including trademark, is really important. It gives trademark holder an advantage edge to the business. And in terms of protection, it's also a key factor to differentiate between IP subject. Trademark can be protected forever if you renew every 10 years under Vietnamese law. Copyright, it has a very long protection terms. It will be the whole life of an author plus 50 years after the author died. So, but invention and patent have a limited, term, like up to 20 years.
Yes.
So again, protection term is actually is one of the key factors to differentiate between the IP subjects.
Yes, thank you. For many Italian company, European company, when they approach the new market, that the business, from business point of view, it's very important to have business first, right? And IP somehow seems a little bit ambiguous for many entrepreneurs. But you said before one very important point that I found is very interesting, that the company should consider IP registration an asset and not cost. Would you please clarify this?
As you know, business is important, so they have to test the market first to see if they can sell goods and services to Vietnam before thinking other factors. But again, very importantly, IP actually is an asset, it's not a cost. But many people still consider like a cost because they have to pay money to file an IP right. They're quite time-consuming and costly, right? Many companies, after they make a big sales in Vietnam, imported products to Vietnam, and product become a blockbuster, and they look back and say, "Oh my God, my IP right trademark has been stolen by a third party." So they have to spend so much time to negotiate to get it back.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we can build a house, we get costly, but sometimes people regret just to file a trademark. It costs about a few $100s. I would say that consider filing and obtaining trademark IP rights registration before doing business in Vietnam. Many years ago, we supported an American client, a very big IT company, with an IP infringement in Vietnam. So they launched in New York a very good IT product with a new brand, and the product is becoming so popular even now all over the world. Vietnam, with so much talent, in IT in the markets, they became to know about the products, and only 2 days later, since they launched products in New York, they filed a trademark in Vietnam. And salespeople, they are so excited to try to import, to Vietnam the products and sell it here. And then 1 week later, they got a warning letter from the Vietnamese company claiming that they have the trademark rights over the products. So what happened was they had to sit down with the Vietnamese company to negotiate about buying back what's supposed to be, their IP rights.
So they had to buy back.
They have to buy back. It costs like $200,000 something for the trademark. So you see, like filing a trademark, it costs about like a few $100s, $200 or $300. Instead of doing so, and now we have to pay like $100,000 just to buy it back. So that's why Vietnam, unlike US and other countries, we get like first to use. Vietnam the first to file country. So get it there, file it first, obtain registration before doing any business in Vietnam.
So, any tip or any suggestion from your side to the company for implementing that strategy to in IP issue?
Yeah, I can make it quite simple. the three simple words. Number one is prevention. Number two is detection.
Yes.
And number three is enforcement. So let's go first with like prevention. Prevention means like, you need to get your IP expert or your in-house counsel to give you advice on what IP rights need to be established. So being able to identify the core IP asset to register and obtain registration is important. It really gives the value to the company, and it's unique because different companies have different strategies.
Yes.
So some companies may focus on like patent, some companies may focus on trademark. Like right now, a lot of like pharma companies, they focus on making vaccine, right?
Yes.
And either like you really have to get a patent of a vaccine and commercialize it and make money out of it. But some companies, they can really focus on trademark because they can be the CGNR company or fashion company or like retail companies. Number two, detection. Detection is very important because you have to detect what are your competitors are doing in the market and whether you can be infringing the IP rights of the other third party. Sometimes it could be unintentional, because like company will often like social media or PR people, they can come up with a new idea, right? They can get some idea or some like side of the trademark or things on internet, and they apply for the company without checking whether it can be registered or maybe registered again or already by a third party. So detection is very important. And the last word, and quite simple, is enforcement. So you have to be very smart in deciding on which channel you have to go with. Either you will continue working with like administrative channel to take rate action or simply sending a cease and desist letter, or you can go and make a big thing, like sue somebody to court or take criminal actions. I think those three keywords, is quite important. I think company can strategize beyond those three words.
Yeah, so we should say that protect ourselves before getting hurt.
Exactly.
Important free trade agreement that Vietnam has been signed by far is EVFTA, which come into force in August the 1st, 2020. And I have said from the European side, many European companies, including also the Italian one, they are very looking forward to this agreement in order to start business with Vietnam. So with this important free trade agreement, is there anything regarding also for IP?
I think the good news for European companies under EVFTA is that 169 GI has been protected in Vietnam.
Yes.
So if they are using such GI like 169 GI to do business here, they have a lot of advantage. So for Italy, I think they have about 38 GI protected in Vietnam right now under EVFTA. So it gives businesses from Europe a lot of advantage while doing business here in Vietnam. But again, it also poses a lot of challenge because EVFTA introduced a very high standards about IP protection and enforcement. I can say something like they for the first time they changed the way regarding ground trademark to bring it more in line with international standards under TRIPS and Paris Convention. And then Vietnam also required to sign a rightful copyright treaty, which impose a very high standard on copyright enforcement and standard as well. And last but not least, under EVFTA, it gives European company and the member companies, a company from the member countries, a very unique right to demand for compensation due to the loss in or delay of the patent prosecution. I think that's quite important as well.
Ah, wow. Yeah. So it means that if I get late or delay of the procurement, I can get reimbursed the patent.
Right. So if you file a patent with like Vietnam IP Office and the patent was dragged on forever, right? So if the Vietnam IP Office cannot prove the reason why they delay the whole prosecution, and then they can ask for compensation in such a delay.
Does it also apply for the Vietnamese company to
both?
Oh, okay, great. That's a good news. Thanks to the very insightful and informative conversation today. Would you have any recommendation to both the Vietnamese company and the international company to be more or to do business more comfortable in approaching the IP aspect?
Yeah, I hope the conversation today gives a big picture about the IP landscape and some best practice in Vietnam, and not only for international but also for Vietnamese company as well. I think IP law is quite international in the way that they adopt and embody a lot of principles from the international treaties. But the key thing is public awareness is very important. So public awareness is not the only task to be done by the government or IP office, but it can be done by different chambers, organization. Very often I see that chambers can be a good contact point where they should have an IP guide for Italian company or European company before doing business here in Vietnam. And it needs to be a door for a lot of Vietnamese company to knock and find out what they can do, what they should prepare themselves before going overseas.
Yeah.
So we are seeing more and more Vietnamese company going global so far. So before we only see only big company, giant company going global. But right now, even startup, we have the small and medium-sized company. They also have a desire to do business overseas. So I hope that public awareness in terms of IP knowledge, IP guide. So chamber like ICHAM could be the first door for anyone to do business in Italy, and like a door to open to Europe as well.
Thank you very much for joining with us today, Mr. Hung.
Thank you for having me again.
Welcome to ICHAM channel. The Italian Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam, ICHAM, is an agency that's bringing a bigger business network of the Italian company and the Vietnamese company, and also providing a customized experience and services to the company. Services of ICHAM are divided in following main categories. The first one and the most important one is market entry services. The second category is providing the consultancy for investment. The third category is organizing business networking. So if you have any requests or for further detail, please contact us. We are here to help. Thank you. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.